So you want to just tell me about being here?
Being here. Well, I heard about the protest actually literally on the writing on the wall. There was across the street from a bodega in my neighborhood. There was graffiti that said OccupyWallStreet.org. So I checked out, I went home, saw it a couple of times, then I went home and checked it out on the internet, and it was September 17th, we're occupying the park, you know, actually no, we're occupying Wall Street. I was like, all right, that's cool. And I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach, because I'm 35, I own my own business.
Right.
Like, I'm not a kid, I can't just pick up and whatever. But I was like, if I'm not there, like I've known something's been wrong, I've known something should be protested about for a long time, and literally walking around saying like, why aren't people protesting? And if I didn't go, I felt like I would be the biggest hypocrite in the world. So I came down here the first night of the 17th, and it was, you know, a really interesting, amazing experience. Like, just how really grassroots everyone came together, nobody, you know, truly leaderless, everything else, and watching everyone organize around each other. And I wasn't going to sleep in the park. What I decided that I could do to really support the movement was I had my camera. I tried to get some really interesting footage of stuff, and you know, I'm pretty media savvy, so I like went home and posted everything that I had up on the internet, and a couple things got picked up by a couple of like well-read blogs, and I just basically came out like posting as much as I could on Twitter, on Facebook, everything else, and like no response really for like 3-4 days. Little inklings of things like friends start, because I think people were even scared to like or comment on Facebook because they didn't want to be known as like some sort of you know, some sort of upstarts or anything. You know, I was even nervous about like, all right, what am I going to post? But and then you start seeing more and more. I was coming down like every 3 or 4 days, checking in, getting more footage, and you know, like you were even saying when we were talking earlier, the big turning point was when the first macing happened and they had, you know, kettled the first protesters up at Union Square, and then you saw things really start to blow up. And then everybody, not even everybody, people were starting to talk about it. My sister works at a major magazine in Manhattan, and I called her and I was like, hey, have you heard about the protests? And she was like, no. And she was asking at her office, they still didn't know. Her boss was the only one who had heard. So again, just promoting, and you know, people really started to hear about it. Then I had some friends who wanted to go. So 4 of us went to the Brooklyn Bridge protest. We ended up being one of the 700, or 4 of the 700 to get arrested on the bridge. Again, a really amazing experience. You know, to think that this is really, you know, such a free country, and that we really have absolute freedom of expression and democracy is, it's within the realm of when you're saying what they want you to say, you're absolutely fine. The further you disagree with the status quo, the more they're going to try to shut you up. To try and say that Bloomberg, Ray Kelly, and whoever else, you know, weren't specifically trying to intimidate people, you know, like we talked about earlier with the macing, and then with, again, people are afraid of being arrested. Yes, we were arrested. Yes, we only got a slap on the wrist of a disorderly conduct, but people here, 700 were arrested, and that frightens people. But it also motivates people, and that was their error. Because if this movement didn't mean anything to people, it would have been squashed. But I think this movement really does resonate deep within a lot of people, and that's why Wednesday we had a turnout of 10, 15, 20,000 people. I don't know what the correct number was, but that was a direct result of the arrests on the Brooklyn Bridge. And I have no problem spending 9 hours in a jail cell detained for absolutely no reason, just so that so that can spark this dialogue, that can spark this debate, and that can spark, you know, this movement. And you know, the only other thing I would address is, you know, everybody's talking about do do people have demands? Like what is going on? And it's been a big criticism, but I also think it's the strength of the movement is that not only that it's leaderless and that it really is grassroots, but that the demands aren't specific like a specific union rally, or it can't get pinned down, and that it will grow. And right now we're in the process of raising awareness, but the demands will come, the ideas behind it will come, and to criticize it, just the name of it, Occupy Wall Street, you can infer a lot about what that is. It's the problem of what is the problem with Wall Street and our government? And I think there are like 5 or 6 very specific implications behind that. One is campaign finance reform, which is absolutely getting corporate money out of politics, out of the politicians' pocketbooks, and getting the money out of politicians' pocketbooks. The Glass-Steagall repeal. There needs to be, people are talking about taxing the rich, et cetera, et cetera. The 99% versus the 1%. Tax rates in the 50s, the highest tax bracket was 90%. We were still capitalist at that point. This isn't class warfare.
Right.
Now they're 35%. They've been lowered since, or it might even be lower than that. It's around there. Ever since the 80s with Reagan, everything was way down. The Glass-Steagall Act was repealed, and there was a ton of bank deregulation. Essentially, what that did was it took investment banking and deposit banking and said that they can mix. And that was part of the beginning of our entire, financial crisis after financial crisis after that happened. And we can talk about the fact that nobody at Wall Street has been prosecuted since the financial crisis. You can talk about, stopping foreclosures, et cetera, et cetera. But in summation, I think if you read a lot, the demands, you can glean a lot from just Occupy Wall Street. What everyone is talking about, and it's essentially getting the money out of our government, getting corporate money out of the government, and leveling the playing field so that everyone has a chance to actually work hard and have a good life.
Thank you.